So, welcome to the Slice of Time Street Photography podcast, episode 20 already, a year in the podcast. So that's very nice to see that we're still going. Today, I'm joined by Amy Horowitz, a street photographer from New York in the US, and a photographer who, in my eyes, spots very great subjects on the streets and dares to take their portraits. Really goes into like you really make contact with your subjects. So that's, I think, a very interesting topic to talk about. So maybe, Amy, could you introduce yourself for a minute here?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to first say thank you for having me, for reaching out to have me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for making the time.
I've been living in New York for, since 2020 or so. I lived here when I graduated college for a couple of years and then got married and moved to suburbia. And after I raised my children, came back. And the first thing I did was start taking photography classes. And that's where my interest peaked and I got going.
That's cool. So, like more or less 5 years now that you live back in New York and are doing photography.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
cool.
love the city.
Yeah, for me, I'm not from New York, so suburbia is the wider region, or how does that?
Suburbia is like, it's more residential
Mm.
and you live more in your cars going from place to place. It's not as walkable generally, to stores or, things like that. But it's a nice place to raise children, the
Okay,
green
yeah.
open spaces with the lawn and everything.
And is it like close to New York? Is it like
I would say
easy
about
to
about
go
an hour with no traffic drive.
with no traffic?
So
Yeah,
I'd say
okay.
most big cities have like a suburb area where it's
Yeah,
more residential. So yeah. It's a very
okay.
different kind of life. I couldn't wait to get back to New York.
Yeah, I can imagine. No, but because New York is like a very wide, and also you have like, for example, Brooklyn, which is almost like a city in itself. It's all these places. So for me, it's like I live in the suburbs of Antwerp, but it's 15 minutes by bike, and I'm in the city center. So it's
You feel
similar, but
like you're in
it's
both? You feel like you
yeah,
live in
but
both?
it's totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more separate.
Um, so and what brought you back to New York City? Was it
I
was it the
just I
photography
just
or
always wanted to.
okay?
So, my kids grew up and left the house, and a couple of them lived here, and I always wanted to live here. So, come back,
Okay.
actually.
So it was not photography related to go back
No,
to the city.
no.
Okay. And then so why did the moving back to New York spark the
So,
photography or?
I always loved the city and I always loved photography. So, I don't know if you have children, but when you're raising children, I was very focused on that. So,
Hmm,
I kind of set myself aside. So then when I came to the city, I'm like, okay, what would I like to do? And then I started taking classes at the International Center for Photography. Then COVID happened. Then the classes were online, but I continued. And I was so interested and it's been
okay.
great.
And there was no like history of photography, like doing it in school
No,
or whatever.
I just took pictures of my children and, it served different purposes for me. We had a lake house at one point and I'm somewhat of an anxious person. So taking photographs, took away my fear. I didn't focus on my kids in water where I couldn't see down below because, you really can't see down in a lake.
Hmm.
I would just take pictures all day and that would keep me calm and keep me doing something. And I just enjoyed it. I always have.
Okay. And did you like take photos of the kids like doing the things that
Oh yeah,
cause
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
anxiety? Yeah.
We would have friends and families come, and back then it wasn't digital; it was film. So I would always run to the store, get the film developed, and I would just get multiple copies and send it to all our guests. So it became like a little project for me, taking photos of each weekend and then sending them to everyone.
That's very nice. Um, and so now you focus more on people on the street. Why? How did that come
The way
about then?
that started was probably from the classes I was taking. So during COVID, we had to do different projects every week or an ongoing project. And I was doing architecture. There were no people on the streets. There were no cars. It was so easy to get all the beautiful architecture in the city because it was unobstructed. But after a while, I found that kind of boring. I wanted to talk to people. Um, so I just happened to take a photograph of a drag queen. I just came upon them And it was funny because they were changing out of their heels into Birkenstocks, into more comfortable shoes. And they said, okay, if you can only photograph me from the waist up, because I don't want anybody to see me in these shoes. And I did. And my professor at that time loved the picture and said, not everybody can do portraits. You think this is something you might be interested in? And then I did. And then I just kept going. I was very nervous at first. I would take someone's picture and practically run away when I was finished, not even ask their name or anything. I was just so happy to have asked the question and done it that, okay, I was like on to the next thing. But after doing it and doing it and doing it, it's a whole different thing now. Now I'm much more relaxed and I can talk to people and it's great.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. Because it's a part of anxiety for a lot of people, like talking to people in the streets. Even if you're a photographer, then
Yeah, you
it's
just
not the
don't know if
easiest.
people are going to say no or how they might react.
Yeah,
If you've never done it before, it's hard.
exactly. And so, what caused you to photograph the drag queen? Was it because you found it interesting, or was it because
It,
you were bored,
Interesting.
just
No, just
bored, or yeah?
interesting. No, just a very interesting that person just looked very interesting to me. And I'm like, wow, I should just try and get their picture. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many interesting and unexpected things you run into in the city that I thrive on it. I've
I
come
can
to
imagine
expect
now.
the unexpected.
That's great. And so now you well, you worked on a book. It's finished, and
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Oh,
Can you
yeah. The
can you
book
say
is
something about the
the
book?
book
Yeah.
is called A Walk in the Park with a question mark, and it's basically because I shoot adolescents, not adolescents, young adults, for the most part, in and around the West Village area, which is where I live, and in Washington Square Park, which is a famous park in New York, very creative, a lot of history there. And there's a lot of universities and colleges here. So there's a lot of it's a very young, vibrant area. So I just take a stroll and run into all these young adults, and I just find them fascinating. So I've been doing that since about 2020, 2021, and I've collected thousands, and I put together a book. I'll backtrack. I went to something called Photo Fest in Houston, Texas, a couple of years ago, a portfolio review, where for 3 days, you go, you pay, and then you go around and meet with all these different publishers, magazine editors, museum curators, and you see if anybody has interests, and they give you feedback. And one of the publishers was interested, Schilt Publishing was interested, and we continued talking, and then we started working on the book. So it's finished, and it will be out in mid-September for distribution, and it's on pre-order now. You can pre-order it on Amazon or the publisher's website.
Great. I will link that in the description, of course, and in the show notes for people interested, because I think it will be an amazing book. And so why the question mark, first of all?
Okay. Well, basically, a walk in the park, the phrase kind of
Yeah.
means something is easy. And that time of life, that transition from young adulthood to adulthood, it is fraught with so many different feelings. It's almost tumultuous. It's not always a walk in the park. For some it is. For some of the young adults, they're very focused. They know what they're doing. They're on a good path. Some of them are lost, have mental issues. So it's not always a walk. It's not always an easy time. It speaks to the vulnerability they have, and our times, things that are going on in the country right now, climate change, politically, democracy being threatened. There's so many things that kids are dealing with that I didn't deal with as a young adult. I didn't have the internet as a young adult, so I wasn't even as focused on the news. They know everything, and they have an opinion on everything, and it affects them. So it's not always a walk in the park.
Okay, that's a very good answer. Yeah. Wow. That's great. And so was that also the reason why you focused on these young people specifically, or?
I think I don't know. I think everybody relates to that time of their life. I think it's very impactful time of your life. I lived through mine. I lived through my kids, and now I see these kids. And I am a mother. I feel sort of motherly towards all the ones I photograph in a way. Oddly, I care about them. Of the subjects, I keep in touch with many of them. We follow each other on Instagram. I see something good happening in their life, I'll comment, or if something bad is happening, I'll feel bad, wait for
Yeah.
something to change. I like seeing the transformation because New York, even though it's a big city, it's kind of small. Like there was one person I photographed early on, Jarrett, and took their picture. And then about a week or so later, I'm all the way uptown and I ran into them again. So we joked, oh, you again? And I ran into them several times. And then each time I'll try and take their picture if it's possible. But, situations like that, I could see somebody else I had photographed had they were a cutter, they had mental,
Oh,
problems and they would cut their skin. But now I see they turn their life around. It's nice. It's nice to
yeah.
see when the good things happen.
That's very cool. Yeah, I think like for street photographers, you're very close to your subject because you eventually get to know them personally. Yeah, and that's I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that's very
some, not
nice.
all. I mean, I might find somebody crossing the street, take their picture in 2 minutes, and that be that. You know what I mean? And if I get their name, but if I can, I'm sort of a regular in that park now. So I know the other photographers there. There are some of the kids that are always there that come back, some that have gone to school, graduated, and then come back or live around here. So I do see them often.
And so you mentioned just like you see someone walk the street and go to them fast. Did you have like a certain well not well
You mean,
maybe routine or
you mean an
or is it more
approach? You mean an
or an
approach?
approach? Yeah,
Um, I just pretty much go up and say, "Can I take your portrait?"
yeah,
Just as simple as that. And then if they hesitate, I'll say, "Oh, you don't even have to smile. In fact, I prefer you not to smile." And that sort of breaks the ice, and they get relaxed because a lot of them will either say, "I never smile," and it'll be fine, and they'll just do it, or some will just crack up laughing, and then they compose themselves. And I
yeah.
like that because I find after they laugh, they're more relaxed. We kind of go with it. I joke, I don't like my picture taken, which is true. But I just ask, just like that. Sometimes if they hesitate, I'll show them my Instagram so they can see what I'm doing and I'm not just some weirdo who wants to take their picture. You know, I think it's also easier for me because I'm a woman. I think I'm not as threatening. I
Yeah.
think maybe, a young girl, a man coming up, they might not want to get their picture taken. I don't know. But, I'm
I I think it's the energy you bring that makes, and I think yeah maybe as a woman it's well maybe easier, but I think as a man it's still possible. But yeah,
It's possible, of course. There's several male portrait photographers, who are great at it. I'm just saying, I find for me, I think I'm not threatening, and they usually say yes.
okay. And it's you just do like the one question like, can I take your photo? Because for a lot of advice is like compliment the person, tell them why, and this and that. For you,
It
that's not
depends.
really
I
happening.
might, if I'm drawn to them, like, I love their hair color or I like what they're wearing, or, you're so interesting looking, then we might start talking. I'll ask them if they go to school around here, what they're studying, what they're doing. I'll ask them if we have the time. It's tricky because sometimes they're with their friends. I don't usually like to pull people away from their friends.
No, of course,
And
yeah,
sometimes you don't want to photograph their friends because they're not as interesting. So it depends.
yeah, okay. Yeah. And so it can be like 20 seconds or it can be like 10 minutes. It
Yeah,
sounds, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's a wide
exactly.
range. That's cool. And did you, with the people that you like, Garrett, you mentioned, do you, for the book, for example, do you have like a series of them
I have a couple,
growing
there's
or?
a handful where I have a couple pictures of the same person, and then you can see how they changed. So in the book is really, I write an introduction about, why I'm doing this book and what the book's about. And on the inside flaps, I have some words about, it's really their words. For a while there, I carried index cards and I would ask the people I shoot, tell me something about yourself that somebody looking at you who doesn't know you wouldn't know. And then they tell me that, and their answers are on the inside jacket of the book. So we have
That's
a bit
cool.
of their voices in there as well. But when you
That's
asked
a
about,
tough question.
people answered real serious, like they hate themselves, or, real heady answers, or they might say, I can touch my nose with my tongue. Like they say like silly things or serious things. It depends. But in reading it, you get a sense of that time. But the reason I bring it up, I talk in circles, but the reason I bring it up is because when you said taking pictures of people repeatedly over time, I don't put their names in, and I don't just, say this is the same person. I think you could figure it out just seeing it. So the book is just the images in the middle of the book, in the whole book.
Yeah, okay. That's nice. And then you already mentioned it with there's like the don't smile mantra. I think I
Oh,
saw something
my
about
Instagram is don't smile NYC with
yeah.
underscores in between the words, and no apostrophe and don't. I started that. First of all, I was trying to find a catchy sort of Instagram name. And at the time in my studies and everything I was learning, I thought the better portraits that I had seen did not have a smile. And part of that is a good portrait, you want the viewer to spend time with the portrait. And I think a smile, like a say cheese kind of smile, is just, oh, here's a happy person. Like
Yeah.
you don't really go deeper than that when you see that big sort of fake smile. And I didn't like that. I wanted genuine people. I wanted the portraits to show, something interesting about them visually, but also like the vulnerability. Because, everybody is vulnerable, but at that time, I would say even more so. And I wanted that to come out. So I didn't want that forced say cheese smile. So that's why I started with Don't Smile NYC. But I would say over time, I got a little bit more lax with that. Like
Hmm.
now, if I catch somebody and they start smiling during the session, I'll keep snapping. I'll keep shooting, because I find like a real genuine smile that just comes out of nowhere can be great. So, you learn, you, as an artist, you start one way and you have a set thing in your head, maybe rules or whatever, but you evolve and you learn new things as you go, which is great. You always learn new things in photography. So I
That's
just find
definitely
that the
true.
expressions sometimes are just as good.
Yeah, very, very much so. Yeah. So that's, but I also like on your website, as you said, it's very, the people feel more authentic because they don't have the fake smile. Yeah. Um,
It also puts them at ease. Like I said, they start laughing, they can't stop smiling then, so.
yeah. And also often the people are very aware of their teeth. Like if you ask, like I'm a portrait photographer as like a job, so I do the headshots, so it's usually smiling people.
Uh-huh.
But people are very like self-conscious about their teeth, like I don't want to. So
Oh, really?
I think
Yeah.
that's a nice trick as well to put people at ease, to not have them smile too much.
Yeah.
It's always a, people are always talking about their teeth, like all the rest is fine.
Oh, that's so
Like, but
funny.
yeah, so it's very recognizable. And so you went to the photo fest last year, and did
No, it was
you or
probably 2 Aprils ago, maybe 2 years ago, April.
okay, so a while ago, and did
So
you
it happened quickly. The book happened quickly.
yeah, and so 3 years more or less, and did you stop shooting, or was it more like okay, I have
I
the
continued to
yeah
shoot, but I select when I met the publisher. He said, "Send me 50 photos in tier A, 50 in tier B, and 50 in tier C, just to see your work." Thinking we would only publish the first 50, but use the other ones for if we wanted to substitute something for any reason for the flow. And he came back and he wanted to use all of them. So I think there's more. There's over 160 images in the book. So
that's a
I
lot, yeah.
think part of the appeal of the book was that I have so many, and that's, it's like more of a documentation of a time in a way. So
That's cool, yeah. And so 100 is it yeah 160 photos, that's quite a lot. So you took them over 3 years, or did you? keep
Over,
adding
over about
to them?
5 years. I kept shooting.
Oh, okay.
I shoot every day if I can, you
You're
know.
still working on the project actually, or?
Well, it's just, yeah, I guess so. I like it. I venture out. I've done a few workshops and I play around with candid street photography. I admire
Yeah.
so many other photographers when I see their candid shots on the street. It's like, oh, I want to learn how to do that. And I do, but I'm still drawn to shooting the portraits. I don't know if I'll ever stop. I'm not sure. I might do a different subgroup. I sometimes think maybe I'll do older adults or, just to get a different perspective. I'm not sure.
Because I find you have very interesting candid ones as well. Like there's one with the snake, which is to me,
Oh, the snake one, yeah. That's gotten a
that's
lot of
very New
attention.
York. To me, like you wouldn't be able to see it here that quickly, I think. Um, but so you're more yeah, attracted to the
I
portrait
do I
side and
do
the,
both. I do both. I'll say since I started Instagram, I came up with Don't Smile, and then so during the week, Monday through Saturday, I post portraits generally, and then on Sunday, I've created Switch Up Sunday where I post something else. So at first, I started doing anything but a portrait. I tried to do like faceless portraits where you'd see like the hand or the face was obscured or things like that. So now I kind of opened it up to anything different other than a portrait. So I dabble in it a little, but it's just a small part of my work.
yeah, but
Hope
that's
to
a
get
lot of
bigger.
posting. No, that's
Yeah, I've been posting I'm very disciplined, I have to say. So I made a rule for myself that I wanted to post every day. So that I don't think I think I only missed a day twice, maybe when my account was taken down for whatever reason or something happened to my account, which happens. Um, but other than that, I post every day. It just kind of keeps me
okay.
going.
That's that's very yeah, very disciplined. And like
But I
how do
don't work.
you?
I don't have like a 9 to 5 job. So,
Okay, yeah, but still, how do you keep up with the feeding it, so to speak? Like
I know
you make photos every day then, or?
I try. I don't,
Okay, wow.
or I collect a bunch, I just keep collecting them.
Wow, that's yeah. If yeah, then maybe it's doable. For me, it's I used to post every 3 days, and last week I decided like every 4 days is plenty because I just need to
It's a lot to keep up with.
yeah, yeah. And then you have to do work, of course, for me, and yeah, there's a lot of you can't keep busy.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, if you live close to the park, and if you have
Yeah,
the
I
time,
could
that
fit it
it's
into my
great. Yeah.
day. I just carry my camera with me.
Yeah, so it's a small compact, like or
It's
like not
not
a compact
that
camera,
small.
but
I have a Nikon Z7.
okay, yeah, same, yeah,
So, that's what you shoot with?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for my street photography, yeah, I use like the Z. I have it here, Z7 two it is, I think, and now I have
Yeah.
like
So
a
I
28.
now use, I started with a 50 millimeter lens and now I use a 35 because I find the 35 I can do the kind of street photography I want and portraits. So I don't have to keep switching lenses,
Okay, yeah,
in case I come
yeah,
upon something, I'm able to get both.
that's true. Yeah, for yeah, I can imagine. And did you ever consider like a zoom lens, or do you prefer still to have
I like
the
the
prime
fixed
lens?
lens. I think I like the fixed lens.
Yeah, I have the same. Yeah, but there's people who prefer the zoom lens, so it's. I was figuring maybe you had a preference as
I
well.
mean, I have a zoom lens and I use it on certain occasions, like sometimes if I'm traveling or if there's an event like a parade or protest, sometimes you want a zoom lens so you have the flexibility.
That's very true. Yeah, yeah. And so you because I haven't seen them published on your website. So for example, protests, is that something you try to do regularly?
I'm just interested in going. I love to go and I photograph what I can. I feel like it's history. I mean, I stayed here during COVID and that probably got me started because I remember running out of my building and somebody said, "Oh, there's a Black Lives Matter protest." Like insinuating that I should not go outside, like stay in. They're protesting. I'm like, no, where is it? I'm going. Like, I want to be where the action is. I just like that. I find it all, A, it's important and B, it's exciting. And I feel like it's part of history.
Very, yeah, very much so. Yeah. I did my first protest a few weeks ago, and for me it was like actually going and actually photographing were both were first, and it was very interesting. Yeah, and for me it was I I was I'm not gonna say scared, but how do you say cautious, because I thought like people are not gonna be happy with a camera, but everyone was so happy
But
to
aren't there
have their
more? Don't you
photos
find
taken.
you weren't the only one with a camera, right?
No, in the end there was a lot of people.
Yeah,
I didn't see many other photographers, but on Instagram afterwards, I saw a lot of photos of people that I followed. It was like, oh, they were there as well. So I didn't
yeah,
see them, but of course it was a very big
yeah.
protest as well. So
I find through Instagram I've met so many photographers,
yeah,
and now I run into them, all the time. We're on like first name basis. It's funny. It's just a little community. It's nice.
yeah, because I think you're part of women
The
street
women street
photographers. Yeah,
photographers, yeah,
yeah, and that's based in New York, I think, as well.
that
No,
is in New
or
York. Yeah,
so that's a very nice group of.
yeah. That
Do
was my
you?
first. I had gotten the book. Gulnara, the founder and creator of
Mhm.
Women Street Photographers. Um, it promotes the work of women photographers because I guess historically they were, men were,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and um,
Even for me,
they
I know
always,
this
they
with the
always,
podcast.
yeah,
So yeah, sorry, I don't want to
it's
interrupt you.
okay. She has annual open calls and things, and so I entered, and I had gotten the book prior, and like, wow, if I could only get my work in a book like this, it would be amazing. And then I became a finalist in her open call. That what kicked off at least some attention for me in my work, which was nice.
Yeah, and so that it's more of a community, I think. Like, do you guys meet
Yeah,
every
we
so
meet
often,
every
or?
now and then, yeah. But even so, I've met so many women through that now independently of Women's Street, we'd get together or I've made friends, and it's nice.
I can imagine. Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I interviewed Nina Welsh-Kling.
Yeah, I
I
know
think
Nina,
she's
sure.
in there
In
as
fact,
well,
she
no?
was at PhotoFest with me.
Ah,
We
okay,
were there.
wow.
We were there together with another friend of mine, Danielle Goldstein.
Okay, yeah, I interviewed her a few months ago. So
Yeah, I listened to that podcast. Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah, because you mentioned like women are very underrepresented in the history of street photography.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like a part of Vivian Meyer, maybe Diane Arbus. There's not many names, and
Yeah, there's
if
a
you ask
few.
for a
Helen
man,
Levitt, Bernice
yeah,
Abbott. I mean, there are a handful, but I think the men get more of the attention or have in the past.
exactly, yeah. And even for the podcast now, I find there are more women, but it's still hard to find them and grab them for. I think they're more shy is not the right word, but more um, how do you call it? Less, it's like less proud of their work, or like more cautious about.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
You mean
but anyway,
tentative? Like, okay.
yeah, I think so. Or like I'm looking for the words, but I can't find it in Dutch now either, so I can't put it in Google Translate. Um, I have the word. Yeah, I'm gonna quickly like modest.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, that's the word, I think. So more. Yeah, they don't want to brag, or they don't want to showcase their work too much or something. So I find that that's often what's keeping women back. For men, it's usually just like I don't speak English very well. Okay, that's fine. Um, but so yeah, and so did you did you find the need, because you started rolling into that in the portrait photography fairly fast? Did you find the need to do the candid work to call yourself a street photographer, or was it just more something that you were
No,
curious
I
to,
felt
or?
like a street photographer anyway. I mean, any
Okay.
photo on the street is makes you a street
True.
photographer,
Yeah.
right? No, I like the candid work too. Like, I like looking at it. I think
Hmm.
it's great. It's just, photography is challenging, and there's always a challenge to be had if you try something new, right?
True. Yeah. Yeah. Because just because you mentioned it was like something you did less, and
Well, I did less than the portraits because I think, you do candid street photography, you're not talking to anybody. I'm sort of an
yeah.
introvert and I spend a lot of time alone, kind of by choice, but I like the bursts of connection. I like meeting the people, and it's just really fun. It makes New York feel smaller when you know people when you walk around, or, you know,
Yeah, true. Yeah, it sounds familiar with the introvert and bursts of connection.
yeah.
So that's something that I recognize for
I
myself.
think a lot of street photographers have that, or
That's a funny thing,
something.
yeah, because a lot of us we all like to talk about street photography, but we all do it alone. So it's we never really get to talk about it that much,
Right.
except
We don't
apart
play a
if
team sport for a reason,
yeah,
because we don't want to.
exactly.
We don't want
No,
to.
exactly.
You want to
But
do it
then,
yourself.
but at the same time, we all like going to these communities or these street photography festivals, and it's fun
Yeah,
to
I
talk
love the
about it. But
festivals. I just went to one in Dublin and one in London.
you went there, yeah, okay,
Yeah, I love them. They have speakers that are inspiring, and they do the photo walk, which is kind of a little bit more social. But I found it really fun to
yeah.
go.
I've been to the Brussels one last month, but the Dublin one, I think next year I'll try to get there as well
That was
because
a great one. Yeah,
I've heard it's really good. Also, it's also only the second year they organized it apparently, but
they
it's
did a great job.
yeah, it feels like it's a massive street photography festival. So
Yeah, and it's fun
uh,
because to going to them, you meet a lot of the photographers on Instagram.
yeah,
So it's like you could go anywhere. I can go anywhere in the world and probably say, "Hey, I'm going to be in blah 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 country." Any street photographers want to meet up. I mean, that's kind of what so many have come here and reached out to me, and I've had coffee with them or walked around,
mm,
meeting people from other countries. It's so nice.
yeah. And do you enjoy the shooting together, or because it feels
Oh
that
yeah, no,
maybe
not really. It's hard. I find it hard to shoot
yeah,
because you're talking to somebody, so you're not as focused. Sometimes you get a shot, but it's not the same as going by yourself.
no, exactly, that's very true. And so you mentioned you go out almost every day. Is
Uh-huh.
it like how big is your catalog? It must be huge, right? Or
Yeah, it's big. Sometimes if I came home with two portraits in a day, that's a good day.
hmm,
Sometimes
okay,
I could get a lot more. It just all depends, you
yeah,
know.
okay, because
But
yeah, okay,
what were you going to say? Because sometimes, you can't find, somebody you want to shoot. It depends on the time of year, depends on the weather, you know.
that's very true. Yeah, yeah. For me, of course, it's I only do candid stuff, and so for me, sometimes I do bursts of like, for example, yesterday I did like it was a very short while before I went to a movie, and it was like 50 photos, and I was like, that's a lot for a half an hour. But
Yeah.
of course, it's bursts. But of course, if you do portraits, then you have to. I think your hunting is a lot different than a lot more different than mine because for me, it's just strolling casually and seeing what I come up to, and for
So
you,
you're
it's
doing
really
more
like looking.
candid photography on the street, you're saying? More
Yeah,
candid?
yeah. I have
Yeah.
tried like not portraits yet. I have some. I've done some. It's kind of like asking someone if it's okay to photograph their feet because they had like great tattoos that match with
Yeah.
something on the background. It's like, okay, can I? So more of that, of course, and that's already like it's been daunting, but at the same time, in the end, it's so easy
It's
to just
harder. I
ask.
find that doing those candid things, you need a lot of patience.
Hmm.
They call it hunting and fishing, and some people will pick a spot with nice light and just stay there. I want to be able to do that, but I don't have a lot of patience as a person. Like I know myself. So that's what I think is one of the challenges for me with street photography is the patience
Hmm.
of waiting. I like more immediate gratification. So
Yeah, but then if you go to a park and there's no one there, do you like sit around to do you do like a lap and see
I
if
do a
someone's there?
couple.
Or?
I do a couple laps. I give it a little whirl, and if I find there's no action after a while and nobody around that I want to chat with, then I just go home. I go about my day. But sometimes go back another time a day, or
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because of course I can imagine like sitting there for an hour could be productive, but at the same time it is just sitting there watching
no, I
to
never really
the
just
same
sit. For
groups.
the
Yeah.
most part, I'm always moving. I'll go down
Okay.
a different street. I'll go around, or I'll
Yeah.
search out a little.
Because it's like a big park or is it
Yeah,
more like a small block
it's not like I
size?
don't know if you've been to New York. Have you been to New York?
It's been since 2008, so it's been a while.
But it's not like Central Park. Central
Okay,
Park
yeah.
is probably miles long, really big. No, it's more of a community park, but it's a
Hmm.
sizable community park, I would say. I can't, I don't even know space. I can't describe how big it is.
No, yeah, okay.
Sorry.
But it was just to imagine because to me, like obviously it wasn't going to be a central park, but like how big is a park for an average New York
Yeah.
place? But it's like more or less
I
one
could
block.
probably stroll through the whole park in 15 minutes, walk
Okay,
down
yeah,
every area of the park,
yeah,
quickly.
okay. I that gives me an idea. Yeah, that's and so did you find because you switched for the from the 50 to the 35 millimeter for your portrait? Did you find that challenging in a way? Like because
Well, the
yeah.
one of the reasons that happened was I did a workshop in Rome last September with Julia Coddington, and I didn't know what lens to bring. The Candid was kind of new for me, and she said she wanted us to bring a fixed lens. I think she said 28 millimeter, and for some reason, when I went to the camera store, they didn't have one that fit my
Oh,
camera
really?
or something. So,
I have the one for the Nikon Z7. It's not that
oh,
expensive even.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe I got the salesperson who didn't know, but they wound up telling me that they didn't have that, and I should get the 20. I think it was like a 26. I don't know, but
Okay.
I had to
Yeah.
stand real close to get the pictures to
Yeah.
people, right? So I'm in Rome, and I was just so brazen. I was like just so close to people and just shooting away. And then the teacher loved it, and she kept the person the photographer who ran the workshop, and she said, "No, you should keep using this lens. This is great." And then I came home, and I didn't want to keep switching lenses, so that's when I went to the 35.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you because you were switching between the 26 and the 50, you settled on the 35.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. And so you mentioned the Rome workshop, and I mean, in a way, it's I can see how it's easier for you to approach people up close, even with this 26 millimeters lens, which is
Well,
very
that was more
very
like a
close.
lot of, I did some portraits, but mostly candid street photography
Yeah,
there.
and so because for a lot of people, it's a very big barrier to get so close to people. For you, it wasn't that
Well,
much of
what
an
we
issue.
did, the workshop we went several days to the area near the Coliseum. There's a train
Hmm.
station near the Coliseum. There's a lot of people, and we went to like the what's it called, the Parthenon, or another touristy place, and then we went to the Trevi Fountain where there's so many people.
So many
You know,
people,
so
yeah,
so many people, like they don't really, and everybody's taking pictures because it's a touristy. So sometimes people don't notice. So you have
that's
to be a
very
little
true.
stealthy and be kind of like cool about it, and then just like think about, see what you want to shoot and get close and just do it,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, if you mention those spots like the Trevi Fountains, I was there 1 year ago as well, and it's
It's
like if you
packed.
go, it's packed. Yeah, we went at like 7 o'clock in the morning. So
Oh,
the friend I went with, he couldn't sleep in the morning, so he went and he woke me up by slamming the door of the hotel fairly hard. So I woke up too, followed him, and like at 7:30, there's like 20 people, and that's
oh.
fine. But then, yeah, half an hour later, you just see it get so packed. Exactly.
But when
So
it
I
was
can
so packed
imagine.
is the time you can get those candids because
True. Yeah.
people don't
Yeah.
really realize.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
close.
I was there with a friend, so I wasn't really doing much street photography, but I can imagine now. I did see a lot of places like I should come back here. I should come back here. And so, do you find that it's different for you to do it in Rome than New York, or?
Um, I don't know. I'm just as brazen here, but for some reason I just felt, I don't know, they don't know. I don't know. It was like a weird kind of
Yeah.
feeling I had in my head, like, okay, I'm in a country I don't know. I got yelled at a couple times. It happens, but I'm safe. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Still
Okay.
here.
That's because for me, I mean, now that you mentioned it in a workshop, for me, for example, in a workshop or in a group, I'm much more brazen as well. So it's I find it gives like confidence to approach people
Maybe,
more
maybe
easy, I find.
because the Julia gave lectures in the morning, which are very inspiring, and she gives tips and whatever. So I think you have that in your head right before you go out and shoot that, you know what you're looking for, how you want to get it. And,
Yeah, I
I
can
think
imagine.
having that lesson right before helps.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, that's what I like about workshops as well, because they at first it's a bit of information, and then it's also the practical side, and they're there as well to guide you through it. So was it like a big group or?
No, like 6, 8 people. It's
Okay,
small.
yeah, that's fine.
But,
Yeah.
and sometimes you could venture off on your own if you wanted to. I stick close to the instructor because I want to keep learning.
Yeah.
What am I going to learn on my own? I'd rather be with them if I'm, signed up.
Very, very true. Yeah, that's cool. And have you done a lot of workshops, or was it the first, or?
What did I do? I'd say that was the biggest one. I'm going to Istanbul with Julia also in September.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
That's that's
I haven't done a ton, no. And I might do one with Rami Narula in November. So I like them. Like I said earlier, you can't stop learning.
no, true. And I think even like someone mentioned it recently, like even if you find your style, it was Darren Sachs, I think. Even if you find your style, there's always something that can still keep evolve,
Yeah, I
keep
mean,
evolving and
like I said, now any expression is okay. I start out with Don't Smile. And I also found switching to the 35, for some reason, I'm getting closer now. I used to vary my shots and do full body and do people sitting and do people close up. Now I'm doing a lot more close ups. Unless something they're wearing is so compelling that I want to show the whole thing, I'm trying to get much closer in my portraits now too.
that's because of the lens, you think,
I think
or?
so. I don't know. It just started to happen. And I think it was around the time I switched lenses.
I mean, it's quite possible because for me often as well, like if you put on a new lens, it's kind of makes you think differently as well. So that's why I prefer fixed lens as well because you can get into the right mindset. If I zoom, if I'm able to zoom, I
You're a
get
little
too
all over
many
the
options.
place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's too many options, so I won't do as great.
And I find that, when I'm shooting in a busy place like the park, there's always somebody behind the person you're shooting. It's hard to get the right background. You can kind of move a person, maybe. It all depends on what they're doing and if they want to move to a different spot where there's nobody behind them. But very often you can't. And you don't want to have that person in the background that kind of looks like they're on the person's shoulder,
Yeah.
that you're shooting. So sometimes going closer of what I'm able to avoid that.
Oh, okay.
The distraction in the background too.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, for me, it's I do all my portraits, but of course that's corporate portraits with an 85 millimeter. So for me, it's very interesting to hear you do it with a 35 millimeter now, because usually that's more of and also because of the close-up, because usually the 35 for me is more like a full body portrait in a specific setting. So
I'm not
it's
that technical. I just kind of go with my gut. You know what I mean? And I don't want to carry a big, heavy lens around every day, also.
I don't see anything wrong with it, but for me, it's just interesting that it's what you do. It's with a 35 millimeters because I wouldn't do it that way, but obviously
It works.
it works. Yeah, and I mean, there's a book, so who am I to judge?
Yeah.
But I think that's really cool. Um, and so do you have like days? Because I see a lot of like more yeah, warm clothing is wrong, of course, but there's no like big winter jackets?
What do you
Is
mean?
it like the people, the subjects, the people you photograph
I
are
shoot all year round.
okay?
The
Because
only time anybody ever asked me, um, one person asked me to meet them to shoot them.
hmm,
Like, can we set up a photo shoot? And I met them in the park. It was the coldest day of the year. And I usually wear fingerless gloves so that I can shoot,
yeah,
and I was so cold I couldn't even feel my fingers after about 45 minutes, and they would have gone all day. And I'm like, I'm
wow,
sorry, I have to stop. I just can't. I can't even press it anymore.
yeah,
But yeah, I shoot in all kinds of weather. I don't like rain.
okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah,
Some people do. I don't like rain.
yeah, I'm 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 in between. Like it's I do enjoy it for some occasions, but yeah, usually not too much. Um,
Right. So you think most of them are not winter photos? Is that what you're trying to
Yeah,
say?
it's they feel more like spring, summer, maybe yeah, a bit of autumn, but like early autumn, because everyone on your website, of course,
The
feels
website, yeah, because I think the website I chose a lot. It's a lot of my earlier work on the website. I have to really update the photos. But yeah, right after COVID was an interesting time where the early photos came out. There was a lot of color.
Hmm.
Like, the hair, the clothes, like it was just a burst. Now you find it, and I do find it, but almost not as much. It's a little different. There was some sort of energy happening. Also people like COVID, people didn't know what to do with themselves. They would sit at home and dye their hair. They would do funny things. But then I think when everybody came out, it was like such a celebration that people were out again, that big color burst happened. And I think at the time it was maybe spring. So maybe some of those photos were spring, summer, fall
Ah, okay, that makes
on the
sense then.
website. Maybe that's why.
And so, out of all the portraits you made over the 5 years, how hard was it to select the
Very
I'm not
hard.
sure
Very hard because,
how many do you had like, and how many, so you went
well,
to the 160, but how many did you start
I
with?
mean, I have probably, I don't know, over 2,000 or something, more than that. But, trying to narrow it down, it's
Hmm.
hard. When you find something you do and you like it, you
Yeah.
like them all, right? So it's hard to choose.
And so did you just like dove in, try to wrestle through it, or did you ask
Yeah.
people to help you, or?
Um, I kind of, I have my mentor that I took classes with. We'll kind of review it, but I kind of, you kind of know. And I also I like to have a lot of diversity
Hmm.
the photos. I don't want them to be all one race or all
Yeah.
one whatever. So, it's really I want it to reflect New York and life, you know, and,
Yeah.
I,
Because for me, for example, sometimes I have like a photo that I really love and I show it to people and they're like, eh. And then sometimes you have the reverse, sure,
it
you have like a,
happens. It
so I
happens.
was, yeah,
It's very hard
so
to choose. So
it's
that
very
is
hard to
the
choose.
right
Yeah.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah. That is the
It's,
right
it,
answer. Yeah.
it's hard to choose for sure.
And so how long did that process take you to choose the photos for the book?
Um,
Did you,
um, well, I chose them, and then, you go back and you look at it. It's hard to say. It took several months. It took
yeah,
a
okay.
while to go back because you look at it and then you have to think, you got to go back with a fresh eye again. And then you have taken more pictures. You're like, no, well, let me put this one in,
Hmm.
you could do it all day long. You could do it forever, you know,
Yeah,
you kind of trying to figure it out. You have, at
I
some
can
point, you have to say
imagine.
stop.
Were you able to tell yourself stop, or was it a deadline because of the
Probably
publishing
a
that
deadline.
kind of helped you? Yeah, okay.
Deadlines help. Yeah.
So setting deadlines really
Yeah.
helps with this. Yeah, I can imagine that. And so, well, the book will be, well, for us it will be out fairly soon. For the listener, it will be out already almost. Um, so how? So it's gonna be like a real like hard cover book. Will it be something to go through, like a coffee table book, or will it be
It's
like
not a
a?
coffee table. I'll give you a sneak peek. It's not a coffee table book. But so here inside, on the inside
Oh
flap
yeah, all the
here,
words.
the words of the kids, and on the back flap too. And then, in the very beginning are my words, wherever they are, a couple.
Introduction. Yeah.
And then, all of the portraits within.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's
So
nice.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Okay, it's a big
So,
book.
yeah, pretty thick.
So you have your copy already. So, and I
Yeah,
can imagine that it's very exciting to get that.
it's super exciting. I've
Yeah,
always wanted to publish a book.
yeah. So is there going to be a part two? You think because you kept shooting after the
Uh,
selection?
I would love there to be, sure.
Yeah, so you won't stop the current project because
Yeah,
for some people
not
it's
yet,
like you
not yet.
finished it, it's done.
I still enjoy it, so not yet. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if I'm going to key in on another sort of project yet or not. Switch it
yeah,
up yet. I don't know. I'm still playing. I like what I'm doing, so I don't know why I need to stop.
yeah. Exactly. No, yeah. But for some people it's like, oh, I've done this project.
A lot of
It
people are
stopped,
like
and
that.
then they
When I
go
say how
through to
long I've been
something.
doing it, people are like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah,
They've already done 10 projects in that time. That's what
yeah.
happens.
But I think it's a very cool project. Yeah. So I think we will be wrapping it up there. I've asked all my questions. I think yeah. I mean, for me, I'm curious to see your Istanbul adventures now.
Oh
because I
yeah,
feel it's going to be totally different maybe than the work we already know from you. Exactly like the few photos I saw of Rome.
yeah,
I saw some on your website as well. There was one with the
yeah. Some
Colosseum
of
in the background.
my best street photos were from Rome. Have you been to Istanbul? I've been dying to go.
Not yet, no. It's on
I,
my to-do list now, yeah, because a lot of street photographers go there. And it's,
I've seen photos. They say the light is great there, and the
yeah,
people are nice.
I think it's similar to Rome, but then it also with a different culture as well. So it's kind of like similar like to Rome, but then with like a more, well, the Italians are already warm, but with a more welcoming
Yeah,
culture. That's how I see it, at least.
yeah.
I'm not sure if that's correct. So yeah, I'm very curious to it. Have you done portraits in Rome as well, or?
It's funny. I've done portraits in other countries when I travel with my family or whatever. And, when you don't speak the language, everybody wants to smile. Everybody wants to smile. They all want to do this or whatever. And I'm like, no, I do that. I take it just to make them happy. And then I said, okay, I go like this. Don't smile. It's hard to communicate, to get it, but I've taken portraits in other countries.
And do they end up in the book as well, or is that really
No,
focused on New York? Yeah, okay.
no, but I should put them on Instagram.
Okay.
I created an Instagram account, don't smile abroad, but I never put any photos on it yet. Somebody said don't make more than one account. You split up your viewers that way. It's better
Yeah.
to have it all in one. So maybe for a few weeks I'll post like international portraits or something.
Yeah. And if you go abroad, is it the same kind of people you're attracted to as for the book, or is it like
Uh,
the young people?
yes and no. Sometimes there are other just even older people that I want to shoot when I'm in another
Okay.
country. It's just whoever you come upon, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do that actually in New York as well? Now that
Not many. Sometimes I started to shoot older people. Like I find here, how some of the portraits I have, the kids have like orange hair or purple hair. Here, sometimes there are adults like that have that. So I've taken some of those. If I
okay.
find them, they look a little more interesting, I'll take their portrait.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just because we talked about it in for abroad countries. So I was just wondering if you did it in New York as well. But okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. So well, I already mentioned we were going to wrap it up. So well, let's do that now. So thank you, Amy, for being on the podcast. It
Oh,
was
thank you.
really
Thank
really
you.
interesting. Thank you for sharing your time and insights. Of course, if anyone wants to follow Amy, I will put links in the description. Um, Links to her website, to her Instagram, and to her book, of course. So make sure to follow her fantastic work, to follow her, to go and buy her book, of course.
Yeah, it's available
Uh,
for pre-order now.
yeah, and
That's
then
what they
yeah,
say.
by the time this podcast is out,
All
it's
right. Yeah, it'll be in
maybe
local bookstores too.
the end of the pre-order, maybe the start of
Right,
the
in
normal sale.
September.
Yeah. So make sure to follow the podcast as well for on well, doesn't really matter which platform if you listen to it on Spotify or YouTube. Follow me for updates about new episodes. All those things will be in the show notes as well or in the description. And thank you, Amy, again, and
Oh,
see you in
thank
the next
you.
episode.
It was so nice to meet you. Thank you very much for having me.